Up and they're away, they're racing.
Dreadfully untidy start as people started to go and then hung back. And look at 6, Wayne Gardner down there on the inside. He's not into the lead yet, but by G's running with Dennis Neal, who, however, is in front of him from Rob Phillis, the Victorian rider. Bud's in there well, too, on the Kawasaki number 9. So Honda, Kawasaki and Suzuki all in there and punching. And Honda, of course. But it's Phillis from Neal, from Gardner, Bud dropping to 5th. And down there, 23.
Rob Donnelly on the Suzuki.
Alan Decker on 2, Bud on 9. Cole on 5. Max Thompson, I think, in behind him. But the race leader, Phillis. Hard charger on 35. Boy, this is going to be a great race between him and Dennis Neal. Phillis caught Johnson and Scott Stevens, a new up-and-coming talent, in the Calder round of the Victorian Superbike Championship, but threw it away in a spectacular fall on the corner coming onto the Calder straight back in August. But he is very quick. So let's have a look at this battle as it develops. Up on the back wheel. Phillis from Neal from 6, Wayne Gardner. Gardner has to worry only really about Michael Cole.
Big problem in this event will be tyres again. The heat of the day and 20 hard laps. That Oran Park will certainly take it out of them as Dennis Neal now starts to close the gap on Rob Phillis, goes for an inside running, in fact, more to let him know he was there than anything else, to let him know that he is now being challenged hard.
Phillis is putting a lot of work on that bike. Really got it cracking. Most of the Superbikes around based either on Kawasaki or on Honda. That's a Suzuki-based bike. And a fall there. The dust just settling. We can't tell you who it is. One of the back runners who, as you can see, is not too keen about getting back into the fray and a bit dismayed at his own.
Oh, and there's a big one going off. Back at Sutton's corner. Third position, possibly Wayne Gardner.
Yes, could have been Wayne Gardner. The bike down, the rider up. There's the rider. And we'll do a check to see if Wayne Gardner comes through. Phillis from Neal. Go through.
Big gap back.
And Gardner's up.
Gardner's there.
So it is.
It's a Team Honda rider. And it's number 2. It's Alan Decker from Victoria.
Well, bad luck for Alan Decker. He was lying well in the series too. Alan Decker in the Bell Ray series, as we go back to the leading pair, was running equal third on 10 points, equal with Dennis Neal. His best result was third in the second round of the series.
The leader, Rob Phillis, behind him, Dennis Neal, trying hard.
Yes, John Jim was the only rider that was still sitting on the starting line when the flag was dropped. Everyone else was at least a bike length in front. And I think Neville Doyle, if he does the right thing, he'll be putting in about 5 or 6 protests there.
It was a very ragged start, in fact, wasn't it?
Well, it was terrible. Well, I mean, Jim does the right thing and everybody else decides to go and cheat. There's no provision in the rule book for anybody who's green light to jump in and start. If you jump to start in the World Championship race, you get knocked a minute, and that's it. That's all there is to it.
So Dennis Neal now into the lead on Rob Phillis. And we'll come back to that in a moment, Greg, but I gather you wouldn't really like to be out there on those superbikes with all their vague handling.
No, I tried it once at Daytona. Well, we were doing 172 mile an hour with no bearings and big sets of handlebars, and that once was enough for me.
A bit exciting.
Yeah, it was. It was actually one time around on the speedboat Daytona, the back shocker door fell off.
But these boys do a great job, Greg. Dennis Neal and Phillis.
Yeah, well, they're specialists in their field, and they don't ride the other bikes, and well, you can see how they're doing. If I was out there, I'd be, I think, a long way behind them.
I think you're being modest, Greg, because I think when it came to the crunch, you'd be in there with them. That arch competitiveness comes through. But I wonder how... Oh, and he nearly held it, but not quite. Bad luck, Rob Phillis. Oh, dear, what a bad fall for Phillis. And
there's the bike on fire.
Well, Rob Phillis's bike, number 35. And the grass there, too. Right at the edge of the track, a fireman on the spot, so that's good. Quick action.
Here we go,
look again. Look at it. Nearly held it, but then finally off in the biggest way. And Phillis, sort of aware of it enough at the end, you'll see him just pat his hands on the ground in disgust. Luckily, he didn't run into anything. Awfully bad luck and a nasty toss.
The bike's still burning, however.
Yes, the bike's still burning. And so there's Phillis's bike plus another. The fire marshal's working on the second one there now with the aid of another extinguisher. Fire becoming a bit prevalent in the motorbikes. With Alan Blako's in the pits and Andrew Johnson's going up on Friday on a fall in the corner. And another rider's come down as well there.
Or perhaps it's a marshal's bike, I think, Will, that's been abandoned there as the marshals run to the scene of the incident.
But what bad luck for Rob Phillis. He had that sort of bad luck at Calder too back in August. And that means that Dennis Neal there now, coming up to the Shell Dogleg in this 20-lap race, which has now covered 8 laps, 6 laps at least, 14 to go. And there he is, Dennis Neal. Well, Neal was prepared to reply to the challenge from Phillis. And Greg, we're Mike Starr. starts to go like that, I suppose it's almost a matter of luck as to whether you can stay on it or not.
Yeah, it sure is. Well, especially in a corner like that, when you're coming out, you've got the throttle wide open as far as it'll go, and you've got maximum horsepower. You've got 140 horsepower there driving that back wheel, and when it lets go, it really lets go in a big way, as you saw.
And of course, backing off the throttle accentuates it.
Yeah, well, there's not much else you can do. If you kept the throttle wide open, you just keep going around sideways, and if you shut the throttle off, the bike will come back in a straight line, but in most cases it will come back further than a straight line, and it'll leave you
the other way.
sitting in midair, but nowhere to go.
I thought when it started, he might have just held it, and then finally it snapped one way and another and through.
Could have done if it threw him out of the seat, and if you can stay in the seat by hanging on with your legs, you've got a much better chance of staying on the thing.
How aware are you, Greg, in a fall like that, how aware are you of falling? Everything seems to slow up, doesn't it, the action?
Well, when you're sliding along the ground, you feel like you're doing 3 miles an hour, but you take a long while to stop. But you know where you're going, and you're watching where you're going, and if it starts to hurt on one side, well, you roll over and use another part of your leathers that was not quite so warm.
Well, Dennis Neal not phased and saying, let's have a bit of showmanship from me. As he blasts off, 8 laps covered, 12 to go in the final round of the Bellrace Superbike Series. And I hope that Rob Phillips is quite okay and that there's been as little damage as possible done to his bike. And further back there should still be that action between Cole and Jim Budd. Interesting to see where Jim Budd is now.
Cole about 10 seconds, in fact, behind Dennis Neal at this moment. There was no sign of Jim Budd with Michael Cole as they slammed down the straight just a little while ago.
Beautiful flowing action there from Dennis Neal, who in its race debut qualified it fastest for the Castrol 6 Hour in October, took it to his first Superbike outing and victory last weekend at Winton, and looks to be following it up with another win here today. Incredibly determined rider. In fact, one of his opposition riders, but one of the boys in the team, said that his eyes start to look like laser beams when he gets close to the start. He becomes grimly determined. Broke a couple of both legs back in 1977, but as you can see from his form here today, recovered from that and is the force. One of the leading riders in Australian Superbike and production bike racing.
About 5 seconds the gap between second and third position, and about 10 seconds between first and second, with Wayne Gardner holding fourth position, about 6 or 7 seconds back from the third place bike of Jim Budd on the Kawasaki. So the race order as they reach half distance is Dennis Neal in the lead, from Michael Cole, the Victorian, on the other Honda, then Jim Budd on the Kawasaki, and then the Bellrace Superbike Series leader, Wayne Gardner, in fourth position. Dennis Neal over the Shell flip-flop bike, number 5 in second position. That's Michael Cole on the other Honda, and he'll be about 10 seconds behind Dennis Neal at this stage. The long straight at Oran Park. We're looking down it, looking for a sign of Michael Cole. That's not him. It's a lap rider, and there goes Michael Cole immediately behind that rider. You'll see him next in shot there, Michael Cole.
Jim Budd holding third on the Kawasaki number 9. Quite a lead now, a margin between Budd in third, Gardner fourth on number 6. Peter Malloy would be keeping Gardner well informed of Michael Cole's progress, and that's Cole. Cole is a
bit twitchy there, very twitchy there, in fact, as he pours on the power up onto Bridgeton Bridge.
Obviously that bike moving around there, Greg, but in fact, although we can't see it, the bike's sliding all the time, in fact, in corners.
Right, yeah, I think the back suspension on that bike might be a little bit soft, and the tyre might be getting worn after the laps that he's done, and he's trying to get too much horsepower out of the ground, but there's nothing much else he can do unless he just wants to slow down. You can ride the bike like that quite comfortably. You can see he's doing a good job.
Very good rider, Michael Cole, who debuted the Honda 6-cylinder, the CBX, a couple of years ago in the Calder 2 Hour and went to a resounding victory there. And since, despite the fact that he doesn't practice necessarily the fastest of the riders, has had some superb results both in national and international competition. And Greg, what do these big bikes feel like when they're sliding? And you must, I presume, be very cautious as you bring the power on in corners.
Sure, they're very predictable bikes to ride, especially when you've got street tyres on them, because they're doing everything very slowly. But as you see them there, they've got all-out racing slicks on the bike, and they're a little bit more harder to control, but still plenty of time to make any correction or anything like that. Yeah, you can see the thing sliding there. Plenty of time to do what you want to do when the bike is sliding.
What do you think of the concept of this fairly specialist-built CB1100 Honda for production racing?
Well, the bike was basically built for that, and that's what they've done, and they've come out and won the races. They've done a fabulous job on the thing, and we've been asking Kawasaki to do that for about 5 years now, so we could have a good competitive bike in the Castrol 6 Hour race, but nothing seems to have happened.
Do you think the pressure from Honda might make them do that now?
I think not only Kawasaki will do something now, but all the other factories will also.
Could be good racing.
Michael Cole now down the chute in second position. And there's the leader, Dennis Neal, on the big CB1100R. interesting that the Honda RSC superbike, which is a factory-prepared superbike, has been superseded by this 1100, which Dennis Neal's now riding. And at the end of this One Insurance Series, Dennis Neal will be putting the RSC Honda on the market for $6,000. For me, I'd like to put headlights and electrics upon it and put it on the road. It'll be a superb bike. And there's third place, Jim Budd on the Kawasaki superbike. Greg, you in fact helped to prepare this motorcycle.
I had a little bit to do with it, John, not very much. When the thing was first finished, we were up here at Oran Park doing a bit of testing with Jim and the team manager Neville Doyle, and we put all our ideas together to try and get a better bike for the one rider.
How much better developed is it now since those early days?
Much better. I think the horsepower is much the same as what it started out with, and the suspension, which is what they've been working on over the last few months. And as you can see there, Jim doing a pretty good job without having any difficulty at all.
As we look at Dennis Neal in the lead, Michael Cole won the Coca-Cola 800 here earlier this year in March, and next year it will be run on February the 22nd, and there is $27,250 unconditional prize money, and at 800 kilometres it will be Australia's longest and richest motorcycle race. It'll be in Oran Park in February, and we'll be telecasting it for you. And if the crowd is as enthusiastic then as it's been today, it'll be a boomer, and it should be great racing too, with both Formula One bikes, super bikes, prototype bikes and production bikes all in the one race. Dennis Neal with 2 laps to go.
Dennis Neal, a very successful tyre technician, works for Dunlop in Australia, has helped produce the sort of tyres that he's using on this motorcycle today. In fact, a new front tyre has come out from Dunlop exactly for this meeting today, called a T26. It's a soft compound, softer than they've been using before, and flexible in the sidewall to just slightly overcome the patterning problem that they have with the front end of these machines. The cost, incidentally, is $130 for each tyre. Dennis Neal has bought $1,600 worth of tyres for the next 4 weekends. Graham Crosby's gone one step further with this One Insurance Series. He's brought out 30 Dunlops from England, all of them experimental. And while the riders here are using tyres which you can buy off the shelf, at least off the racing shelf, Crosby is experimenting with compounds and with profiles, looking for the very best tyres to use in the Formula One World Championship Series next year. And there's the blue flag, indicating 1 lap to go, Dennis Neal. So 1 lap to go now. 2.6 kilometres of this very fast Grand Prix circuit at Oran Park.
Hear the beautiful crisp rasp of that 4-cylinder bike as Dennis Neal goes down 2 gears, 5th to 3rd, up there to 4th. Watch the style of this man in absolutely magnificent form, back to 2nd gear here. Watch the way he works the bike into the dip here, and jubilant wheel stand there, throws him way offline. But Dennis Neal's not worried about that. He's got time to cruise, and he's getting very cheeky. Right, you can make mistakes under those conditions. You really can come a gutser. But Dennis Neal now back on the job. He's looking around a bit, but back online. Sweeps it in here.
He knows Michael Cole is in 2nd position. I don't suppose he's trying to set up a 1-2 finish, is he, for Honda?
Into Sutton's corner. Now only the shell dog leg.
There comes Michael Cole up. He's calling him up into 2nd place. So they'll be going over the line 1-2. Looks great in the advertisements next week.
Here comes Cole. Dennis Neal won't let him through. But this is an Alan Moffat Colin Bond finish.
And Colin Bond's here today to watch this race meeting too. They try to pull the wheelies and they're unsuccessful. So in fact, Michael Cole won the event.
Yes, Dennis Neal gave it away. He miscued and Cole's apologised. He said, "I'm sorry, mate." And there you are. There's a disaster. Well, we said you can lapse concentration. He did it sufficiently to lose the race, although not by falling off.
And here we go with the Rob Phillips. Let's have a look at Rob Phillips. Look at the back end skate away there. He tries to correct it. He leaves the seat of the motorcycle, thereby losing control finally. The bike overcorrects again and then throws him high-siding way over the top of the bike. Crashes to the ground, and did that hurt Rob Phillips?
Fall, yes. Very heavily down there. But what a slide that he did sort of half hold, but down the bottom there to talk about the finish and the race. Bob Vincent.
In fact, Michael Cole, by finishing first in this final round of the Bell Race Series, did in fact take the series for 1980 by 1 point from Wayne Gardner. So a very exciting finish to the series, and I'll just move in now and have a word with Mick. Mick, that was a very close finish, just pipping Dennis Neal across the line. In fact, it looks like it's given you a 1 point win in the series overall.
Yeah, so they tell me actually. I thought that if I won, Wayne Gardner had to come 4th for me to win it, but I've been advised differently. Happily.
Shades of the Castrol 6R will probably have to have a recount on it.
Well, I hope not. No, it's a good series because they've got a good crowd here today, and it's the people like to see what resembles road bikes, but with much greater horsepower. They like to see these powerful things going around.
For one terrible moment there, we thought it might have been you that dropped it over on ABC Sport Corner.
Yes, I'm afraid I think it looked like Robbie Phillips, but he was up and about, so it looked worse than what it was.
And Alan Decker went down just before him, the lap before that.
Yeah, you see that corner over there, it's all off camber, and these things come on, they've got 140 horsepower, and they come with such a whack that when they go sideways, you're battling to correct them again. They go so quick.